I feel successful. I feel like I really took my health into my own hands, found out what worked for me. And it sounds painful to just go plant based overnight, but looking back, think it was probably the easiest thing for me. That's only because I like to eat. And so depriving myself of food was not something I wanted to do. Keto was like that. I had to deprive myself of things to be on keto. And then I kind of feel like going on keto is what sent me downward into a downward spiral. But now I don't limit anything. I just don't eat animal products. So I do substitutes and I eat whatever I want. I eat as much of it as I want. So I never feel like I'm going without.
Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi, friend. Do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. I want to start off this episode by sharing what a plant-powered life transformation course student said in an email to me. Lori wrote, "I just finished Module 1 and I thought it was terrific on all levels. So much great information, guidance, tips, handouts, etc. delivered in a positive and supportive way. Thank you for all your work and dedication in guiding people through the transition to plant-based eating. I've been mostly all plant-based for a while, and the opportunity to take your course has been energizing." Thank you, Lori, for this feedback on the PPLT course. That's fantastic to hear that you're enjoying the course so much and are benefiting from all the information, guidance, tips, and resources within the course. I definitely designed this course so that it can be a one-stop shop and provide all the essentials that can be easily accessible in one place. I'm cheering you on towards full plant-powered health. Friend, if you would like to find out more about the Plant-Powered Life Transformation course and see how it could transform your health, go to plantnourish.com/PPLT course or see the link in the show notes. Today, I get to interview a former guest to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast, and that's a truly special milestone. It's worth celebrating because this means that we have now both reached far enough for this show and in her plant-based diet journey to be able to do this. And to me, it's important to be able to bring guests back occasionally onto the podcast to share updates about their health and life because it shows that plant-based eating is truly a lifestyle to be enjoyed and lived out. Please join me in welcoming Winnona Yi back to this podcast. So just a little recap, Winnona lives in Colorado and is a retired veterinary technician who is now a professional pet sitter. She has a daughter and a fast-growing little granddaughter who is now nearly 20 months old and is already running and starting to talk. Winnona grew up on a regular diet with fast food and at one point tried a keto diet in adulthood. However, she eventually developed high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and then diabetes. So one day on December 27, 2023, Winnona decided to go 100% whole food plant-based overnight. When I first interviewed Winnona, she had been eating a plant-based diet for about 3 months, but it was already starting to make a difference. Her mood had improved, she had less stomach problems, she was no longer binge eating, and her total cholesterol had dropped from 226 to 180. Not only that, her LDL cholesterol had decreased too, from 142 to 99. She experienced many other positive changes to her health and weight as well. So Winnona, let's begin with your skin. In our first interview together, you mentioned you had a skin condition. called hidradenitis suppurativa, which had caused flare-ups and inflammation for most of your life, but that the symptoms of this condition had improved significantly since you changed your diet. So I'm curious to find out, has that still been the case since?
Yes, actually, I've gotten maybe one or two flare-ups. Those were related to my hormones, I know, because there was a switch in my hormone medication. But other than that, I've been fine. I haven't had any issues with it, at least as often as I did before.
That's wonderful to hear because I remember in our first interview, you had said how what an issue it was and was causing these flare ups and pain, right?
Oh, yes. It was terrible. Anybody who has HS or hidradenitis suppurativa can tell you they come back, they go away, they come back. And sometimes when they come back, they flare up, they get infected. It's like having a boil, but they're in really sensitive areas of your body. So, a lot of times where there's folds, in the underarms is how we discovered that I had it because I had gotten one in my underarm. And normally you don't hear about people getting sores in their underarms. So when I went to get it checked, that's when they diagnosed me. But yeah, it's quite painful. And there were times that I couldn't even put my arm down because it hurt so bad, but I haven't had any in my armpits at all. The couple that I've had have been in my waistline where it folds and where the band of your clothes fit. Other than that, I've been doing really well with it.
I'm so glad to hear that. And how long have you had that condition for?
I've had it my entire life. I first noticed the sores under my arms when I was in high school.
Okay, I see. So definitely quite a long time if it's been
Yeah.
since high school. Now let's move into talking about your blood sugars. When you were diagnosed with diabetes in December 2023, you were put on two diabetes medications. But in the first 3 months of your switch to a whole food plant based diet, your hemoglobin A1C had already dropped from 7.1 to 6.2. How have your blood sugars been lately after continuing on a whole food plant based diet for more than a year?
My blood sugars increasingly got better and better and better as each week went by. I even made the mistake and I had a little dessert around Thanksgiving with white sugar in it. And I thought, oh, that's just going to mess me up. And it didn't. My body processed it like normal. And I kept checking. And yeah, it gradually went up, but it did not get into an area that is considered the diabetic zone. And it came down pretty quickly too, which is not something that I was used to. So it's been doing fantastic. The last doctor visit I went to, my A1C and the blood chemistry was 5.5. And the doctor said I was out of the diabetic zone. I still take the Trulicity, but I don't take anything else.
That's great to hear that your hemoglobin A1C was able to come down some more since the last time we spoke to about 5.5, and that you're now down from the two medications to one. Is the dosage the same, or has that also been titrated down a little bit? So you're taking less of that?
No, I went down. I was taking 3.25 or just 3 milligrams. I can't remember the exact dose, but I'm on the lowest dose now, which is, I think, 1.75 or 1.25.
Wow, so that's quite a drastic drop in the medication dosage. So that's great to hear. I remember in our first interview conversation that you had also had high blood pressure for about 10 years and was on blood pressure medication. But within 3 months, you were already starting to notice some lower readings. So I would love to get an update on your blood pressure as well. How has that changed since then?
Oh, I am off blood pressure medication. My blood pressure's been reading normal every time I check it. And I brought in my log because I had been marking it down, brought it into my doctor, and he said, I don't think you need to take it anymore. And I haven't been taking it, and I'm still checking my blood pressure, and it's still doing really well.
That's fantastic to hear, Winona. Congratulations on getting off the high blood pressure medication, especially since you've had high blood pressure for 10 years or more. So I'm just glad to hear that you're now off of it. What has your reading been lately?
My readings have been like 128 over 80, 124 over 76. Sometimes it gets into the lower 130s, but it's before it used to be like 140 something over 90 something, and I haven't seen numbers like that in probably a good 4 months.
Those are great readings, especially considering that this is without medication, because before you
Yeah.
were on medications. So that's wonderful. And that's a great idea for you to keep track of your blood pressure readings and to bring that into your doctor to show your doctor.
Yes, I think so. It was very important to me that I get off of my medications. So I keep track of it to make sure he knows that I'm doing my due diligence at home too.
Yes, so that's a great thing for others, maybe those listening, to do as well. To keep track of your numbers, if it's blood sugars or blood pressures, so that you can then bring that in after you've been on a plant based diet for a couple of weeks to a few months to show your doctor to get changes in your medication. So, right now, apart from the Trulicity, are you on other medications?
I am just on hormones for menopause. Other than that, I am not on anything else other than the Trulicity. And also, I was told that my hormones could affect my blood sugars a little bit. And so to not be alarmed if they got a little high, but I haven't seen that happening with my blood sugars. So I think I've really got it under control. I think my body is processing and creating insulin like it's supposed to now.
Yes, that's great to hear. And that's true. Research has shown that moving to a low fat, whole food, plant based diet can really make an impact by increasing insulin sensitivity and reducing the resistance. So I'm not surprised to hear from you that your blood sugars are getting more and more in line and in control, even though you're using less medication for it. So, how does it feel to be on less medications now a year later than compared to when you first started?
I feel successful. I feel like I really took my health into my own hands, found out what worked for me. And it sounds painful to just go plant based overnight, but looking back, think it was probably the easiest thing for me. That's only because I like to eat. And so depriving myself of food was not something I wanted to do. Keto was like that. I had to deprive myself of things to be on keto. And then I kind of feel like going on keto is what sent me downward into a downward spiral. But now I don't limit anything. I just don't eat animal products. So I do substitutes and I eat whatever I want. I eat as much of it as I want. So I never feel like I'm going without. And it's so easy for me now. And it's so cheap because I don't eat out. I make everything at home. Occasionally, like if I'm on a road trip, we might have to stop and I'll get an Impossible Burger somewhere, but even now, I don't even really do meat substitutes because I don't feel like I need meat. So when I first transitioned, I did do meat substitutes and I would do black bean burgers. And now I don't feel like I need a burger. I'll only stop if I'm on the road and there's like absolutely nothing else to eat. And fast food salads are not it.
I think that's quite a change in terms of your tastes and your preferences over the course of the year eating plant based. And I'm glad you're saying that you don't feel deprived when you're eating a whole food plant based diet. You're just not having animal based products, but there's a whole world out there of plant based foods that you're enjoying and you don't feel deprived in any way. Because I think some people are afraid to move to plant based eating because they think by giving up the meat and other animal based products, they'll have nothing else to eat. And they feel like they're going to deprive themselves in some sense. But it's great to hear from you and your perspective that actually that's not the case and you're enjoying your food and you don't feel like you have to restrict yourself in terms of portion sizes, and you can eat what you like in the whole plant-based world. Now, when we first spoke on this podcast, you had reported a loss of about 15 pounds in the first 3 months on a whole food plant-based diet. Have you been able to maintain this weight loss?
Not only maintain it, but I've lost more. So the first 3 months was 15 pounds. Total after a year, it's 50 pounds. So I am down 50 pounds. I didn't do anything except change the way I eat. I would love to tell you I started exercising more, except that is just not the truth. I'm still walking dogs and doing just general exercising, but I don't work out. I haven't worked out this year, and I still lost 50 pounds.
That's wonderful, Winona. Congratulations on losing that amount. That's a significant amount, 50 pounds in 1 year of plant-based eating. And even though you're not doing structured exercise a few times a week, but I would say your job as a professional pet sitter is relatively active because you are out there walking dogs and moving along with them versus someone who's at a sedentary desk job. So I think you are still getting some movement in there, even though you're not doing something very specific and that's structured. Thank you for all that you have shared so far, Winona. I'm excited to delve more into your plant-based diet journey and the changes you've experienced in your health. I would love to continue this conversation with you again in a part 2 episode. So listeners, please stay tuned for part 2 of this interview. Thank you so much for listening. If this podcast has inspired, encouraged, or helped you in some way to transform your health, I would love to hear about it. Please take 30 seconds to rate and leave a written review on Apple Podcasts to let me know. It will encourage me so much to hear how this podcast has positively impacted and made a difference in your journey towards wellness. And share about this podcast with a friend or loved one so we can all thrive in the best health. Remember, plant-based eating can be easy and doable. See you in the next episode, my friend.